Hey everyone, and welcome to the Vegan Man Food Channel. This is Cooking with Manny, and if this is your first time with us, I of course am Manny. It's so good to be cooking with you. The recipe that we're going to be cooking today is a vegan queso dip or cheese sauce. Now, I have to be honest with you, this is one of my favorite things in the world. It is so good, absolutely good. And when I went vegan, it was hard not to have cheese sauce. Cheese sauce. It's a staple in any guy's refrigerator. So, some of the highlights of our recipe today is you're going to learn that cheese sauce is not that hard. And to make it vegan, it's really not that hard either. And once you start making vegan cheese sauce, your whole world is going to change. I promise you that. Okay, so let's go ahead and start reviewing our ingredients for our recipe today. Alright, so some of the key ingredients to a nice vegan cheese sauce. We're going to start with this. This is butter. So when making a vegan cheese sauce, you have to think about how real cheese sauce is made. And essentially what you do is you substitute and you make it in the same way. So we're going to start with butter, and then second, we're going to also include flour. We're going to use butter and flour to create a roux. Now this is very simple, but this is how normal cheese sauce is made. One of the next key ingredients is milk. Now of course we're not going to use real dairy because this is a vegan cheese sauce. So we're going to use an almond milk. Now you can use another type of plant-based milk that you prefer. You could use oat milk, you could use cashew milk. But here's one of the key things about your milk, your non-dairy milk, is that it needs to be unsweetened and plain. Trust me, you do not want to put vanilla almond milk in a cheese sauce. The flavors just really do not go together. Now, one of the next key ingredients to a cheese sauce is, of course, cheese. So we're going to use an Aldi's brand vegan cheese. And this is a pretty good cheese. Now, when we look at the prices of all of this, of course, it's going to cost you, say, $4.99 to buy butter. But really, how much of it are you going to use? I've really only priced about 49 cents worth of butter. And with the flour, we're going to use 2 tablespoons. So that's like 9 cents worth of material. Of your milk, I'm guessing around 29 cents. Now with your cheese, this can vary. So if you want it super cheesy, add a bunch of cheese. If you don't, if you're on a budget, I'm only going to use 2 slices. So I've only priced this around 59 cents. Now one of the last 2 key ingredients to a cheese sauce is salsa. So again, you don't want your cheese sauce to be bland. So adding salsa helps it to be a very good cheese sauce, a queso that you can dip your chips in. Lastly, very simple thing, but salt. Now why salt? Because especially if you're not going to use a lot of cheese, you want to use salt. Sodium is what makes cheese taste good. So if you're not adding a bunch of cheese, that's fine, but add some salt to help balance it out to give it a nice cheesy flavor. Okay, so those are our ingredients. Let's get started cooking.
The first thing that you want is you want to put a pot over the stove over medium heat. Now I'm throwing in here 2 tablespoons of butter. As you can see, I'm not really measuring it, but it's just 2 tablespoons of butter. Do you really need to measure it? I don't think so. Just eyeball it, it's fine. So you'll want to let the butter melt and melt nice and evenly. Next, you'll want to add 1 tablespoon of flour and then whisk that around. Have it spread evenly in the butter so that it disperses nice and evenly. You'll notice that once the butter is nice and spread evenly, it's dissolved, you actually want to let it warm up on the stove, almost browning the butter. This will give the cheese sauce some depth. Now we're going to go ahead and add a second tablespoon of flour, and we'll whisk that around, get it to spread nice and evenly. You'll notice that sometimes the flour will clump up a little bit, and that's okay. Again, we're going to let the butter and flour mixture brown a little bit. And now we're going to add just a little bit of plain unsweetened almond milk. You'll want to add a little bit at a time, and you'll notice that when you start adding it, it'll clump up a little bit. And again, that's fine, don't worry. And letting that mixture brown a little bit is the basics of making a roux. Once it gets a little sticky, you'll want to add a little bit more almond milk or any plant-based milk that you'd like to use. And again, repeat the same process. Whisk it around so that way it mixes smoothly. You'll notice here, this is once I've added all of the almond milk. By adding it slowly, it'll come out with this nice smooth texture, which is what you want. You don't want to add all of the almond milk or else it could get very clumpy. Now we're going to add in our vegan cheese. If we were making a real cheese sauce, this is where you would actually be adding real cheese, but we're making a vegan cheese sauce, we're adding vegan cheese. Once you've added the cheese, you're going to have to whisk it and take your time. Make sure that the cheese melts. Sometimes with vegan cheese, it takes a little while longer to melt than regular cheese. That's because it's not made from dairy, but it may be made from other things like tapioca starch or coconut oil. But in time, it will melt. Give it time, it will melt smoothly. I like to add a teaspoon of salt just to give it a little bit more cheesy flavor. Next, I like to add a little bit of water because I don't want my cheese sauce to be really too thick. You want it to be a little bit liquefied to the point where it can be, you can dip chips or vegetables into it. One of the reasons also you want to add water is because it will clump up once it gets cold. So the more you add water, the lighter and more liquefied the cheese sauce is going to be. Now at this point, I'm making a queso dip, so I'm adding salsa to give it a nice Mexican cheese sauce flavor, a nice cheese queso. So go ahead and whisk that salsa in, and depending on the salsa you use, you could use salsa verde or just normal salsa. It may change the color slightly. I do like a nice salsa verde in my cheese sauce. Here I'm using a red tomato-based salsa that's homemade.
So there you have it. There is our vegan cheese sauce. It's a cheese queso sauce. Trust me, this is a great recipe. It's even hard for me to just stand here and look at this without trying to hold myself back from getting a chip and starting to dig into this. It's so good. So remember, this is one affordable vegan cheese sauce. We've been able to make a cheese sauce that you can enjoy during the Super Bowl or any football, basketball game, any camping. You could do it. You could take this with you. And really it's for a little bit over $3. It's very, very affordable. So once again, I hope that you enjoy this recipe. My name is Manny. This has been Cooking with Manny on the Vegan Man Food channel. We hope you enjoyed it, and join us again for another recipe.